social, cultural groups and civil society and seeking a memorandum of understanding. The dialogue was followed up with the state's government has also eased the curfew in Jos North local government area, reducing movement restriction to 7 p.m. to 5 a.m., following what officials described as an improvement in the security situation. And announcing the decision on Wednesday, the Commissioner for Information and Communication, Joyce Rannap, said the adjustment followed consultations with security agencies. Governor Muthwan kept the peace initiative going with a meeting with top Christian clerics where he solicited the support of the religious community to end the cycle of violence. The curfew was first imposed after the March 29 attack on Angwa Rukuba, where gunmen killed more than 20 residents in a deadly evening assault. Well, joining us to look at this sequence of events and the promise it holds for restoring permanent normalcy to Plateau State is John Chun, Director, Plateau State National Affairs Liaison Office, one of key organizers of the high-level security dialogue. The volume of Nigerian women's multi-dimensional calls for gender equity seem to be getting louder of late. A lot of recent clamor, however, is focused on female representation in appointive or elective political offices for decades. The cry for a better deal for women has achieved very little. The numbers do the talking. In the 10th National Assembly, only 3 out of 109 senators and 17 out of 360 House members are women in 2024 and 2025. Hopes of getting it right emerged through the Reserve Seats for Women bill, sponsored by House of Representatives Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu. The bill proposes creating 74 special legislative seats at the national level, 1 seat per woman in both legislative houses from every state and the FCT. As good as the bill sounds, its ratification process can at best be described as very slow with equally limited progress. How can this be happening in a country that has produced great female ambassadors on the global stage, such as Amina Mohammed, United Nations Deputy Secretary General, and Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General of the World Trade Organization? Is there a deliberate effort to continue to relegate the Nigerian woman? Is there more the women need to do to have their voices heard? Or are the women themselves the architects of their own limitations? These are the questions we shall put to Comrade Amaoge Chukwudi, TUC-FCT Council Chairperson, who will be joined by Patience Key, the presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party in next year's general election in Nigeria. It sure promises to be interesting. Remember that you can be part of the program too by sending your views and comments to all social media handles on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. African Independent TV. So you can stay up to date with the latest news from around the world. Now we're going to be joining our news desk for the World News. Do stay with us. Welcome to the World News. Pope Leo XIV blasted the handful of tyrants that are ravaging Earth with war and exploitation as he preached a message of peace on Thursday in the epicenter of a separatist conflict considered one of the world's most neglected crises. Leo traveled to the western Cameroon city of Bamenda, where jubilant crowds clogged the roads, blowing horns and dancing.
This is the epicenter of a separatist conflict that has been ravaging the area for nearly a decade. Jubilant Cameroonians clogged the roads, blowing horns and dancing to welcome the Catholic pontiff.
To this land.
Pope Leo presided over a peace meeting involving a Markham traditional chief, a Presbyterian moderator, an imam and a Catholic nun. The aim was to highlight the interfaith movement that has been seeking to end the conflict and care for its many victims. In his remarks in St. Joseph Cathedral on lands donated by the Macon, Leo praised the peace movement and warned against allowing religion to enter conflicts.
Your witness, your work for peace can be a model for the whole world. Jesus told us, "Blessed are the peacemakers." But woe to those who manipulate religion in the very name of God for their own military, economic, or political gain, dragging that which is sacred into darkness and filth. The masters of war pretend not to know that it takes only a moment to destroy. Yet often, a lifetime is often not enough to rebuild. They turn a blind eye to the fact that billions of dollars are spent on killing, on devastation, yet the resources needed for healing, education, and restoration are nowhere to be found. Peace is not something we must invent. It is something we must embrace by accepting our neighbor as our brother and as our sister.
It's a theme that he has been echoing amid the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran and the religious justification for it by U.S. officials. It wasn't immediately clear if any of the separatist fighters who announced a 3-day pause in fighting to allow the Pope's safe passage attended the meeting. The Pope also celebrated a mass for the people of Bamenda, located near Cameroon's western border with Nigeria, before returning to the capital, Yaoundé. The people were overjoyed that the Pope had come so far to see them and put a global spotlight on the violence that has traumatized the region for nearly a decade. It's Seme Azekome, AIT News.
Russia launched a wave of drone and missile attacks across Ukraine on Wednesday night, killing at least 15 people and injuring at least 90. Ukrainian officials said. A 12-year-old boy was among 4 victims in the capital and 3 people were killed in Dnipro in the southeast.
Across the border, 2 children aged 5 and 14 were killed in a Ukrainian drone attack on Russia. The strikes come after a short ceasefire took place over Orthodox Easter celebration at the weekend, during which both sides accused one another of hundreds of violations. Kyiv mayor wrote on Telegram that, as well as the death in the capital, rescuers had pulled a mother and child from the ruins of a 16-story residential building that collapsed in Kyiv's central district. In the north of the capital, 4 emergency medical workers were among those injured as a result of repeated shelling. In an attack on the central city of Dnipro, 3 people were killed and dozens were injured. Head of the regional administration wrote on Telegram. Pictures posted online showed buildings ablaze in the city. Elsewhere, missiles and drones attacks on the southern port city of Odessa killed 8 people. The head of the city's military administration confirmed it. The war in Ukraine is now in its 5th year, and there have been several rounds of peace talks, with the U.S. acting as a mediator. However, the process has been stalled since U.S. President Donald Trump shifted his focus to the war in the Middle East. This is what Ukraine has repeatedly proposed is a full, stable ceasefire as a first step towards negotiating a lasting end to Russia's invasion. But Moscow insists on agreeing the peace deal first, prompting accusations from Kyiv that Russia is not serious about ending the fighting.
And that's it for the world news. Up next is Kakaaki Business. Just stay with us.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. live on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel at AIT Live.
My name is Adora Sydney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda.
Gender Agenda, women rising.
Hello and welcome to Kakaaki Business. Start with the impact of the energy crisis on Asia. Japan has pledged $10 billion to support Asian countries grappling with the ongoing global oil crisis triggered by the Iran conflict. The announcement was made by Japanese Prime Minister Kakaaki after a virtual summit with regional leaders, where she emphasized the deep economic ties and interdependence among Asian nations. The new cooperation framework is aimed at helping countries procure crude oil and petroleum products, strengthen supply chains, and expand emergency stockpiles amid disruptions linked to the Strait of Hormuz. Asian economies remain highly vulnerable, with nearly 90% of oil passing through the strategic waterway destined for the region, raising concerns over prolonged supply shocks. Japan says funding will come from state-backed institutions and development agencies, while assuring that its domestic reserves, currently sufficient for over 250 days, will not be compromised. Away from that, the European Central Bank says the Eurozone is in a strong position to manage the current wave of inflationary pressures. ECB board members Israel Schnabel says reforms over the past decades have strengthened the region's economic resilience and reduced financial imbalances. She knows that the previous inflation shocks were addressed without triggering a recession, a development she described as a positive signal for the current crisis. According to Schnabel, narrowing sovereign spread and economic stability provide a solid foundation for policymakers to respond effectively to new global shocks. And tensions are escalating in the United States as President Donald Trump threatens to remove Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell over policy disagreement. The dispute centers on Powell's refusal to cut interest rates, despite repeated calls from the president. With Trump's warning, he may act if Powell does not step down at the end of his term in May. Powell, however, insists he will remain in office until his successor is confirmed by the Senate, in line with legal provisions. The situation is further complicated by political resistance to the nomination of Kevin Walsh, as well as an ongoing investigation tied to the Federal Reserve renovation cost. Analysts warn that any move to remove the Fed chair could unsettle financial markets and challenge long-standing institutional independence. And China's economy has recorded stronger than expected growth in the first quarter of the year, defying global uncertainties linked to the Iran conflict. Official data shows gross domestic products expanded by 5% year-on-year, surpassing analyst projection of about 4.8%. The growth was likely driven by manufacturing and strong export performance, particularly in the automotive sector. However, analysts caution that the full impact of the Middle East crisis and global trade disruption may weigh on future growth, especially in the next quarter. Chinese authorities say they will continue to invest in innovation and domestic consumption as part of broader efforts to stabilize the economy. In Africa, Morocco state-owned fertilizer giant OCP Group has raised $1.5 billion through its first international hybrid bond issuance. The deal marks the first time an African company has issued a US dollar-denominated hybrid bond in global markets. Strong investors' demand saw the offer oversubscribed more than 4 times, despite ongoing volatility linked to the Iran crisis. The funds are expected to support operations as global fertilizer market tightens due to supply disruption and rising input costs. OCP says it is also adjusting production strategies to mitigate higher sulfur prices and maintain supply stability. Currencies across parts of Africa are facing renewed pressure as global economic uncertainty persists. Ghana cedi and Zambia kwacha are expected to weaken further against US dollars, driven by strong foreign exchange demand and commodity price volatility. In Ghana, unmet demand as central bank auctions highlight ongoing dollar shortages, particularly from energy and manufacturing sector. Meanwhile, Kenya and Uganda are projected to maintain relative stability. supported by easing demand pressures and steady inflow from exports such as coffee. Analysts say currency movement will remain sensitive to global commodity trends and geopolitical developments. In Nigeria, the International Monetary Fund projects that Nigeria's debt to GDP ratio will decline to 32.3% in 2026. The forecast represents an improvement from 35.5% in 2025, reflecting gradual fiscal consolidation efforts. However, IMF warns that vulnerabilities persist, particularly due to rising global debt levels and ongoing economic shocks. Officials say higher oil prices may provide temporary relief for Nigeria, but stress the need to rebuild fiscal buffers and strengthen revenue generations. The fund also highlights growing spending pressures from energy costs, social needs, and interest payment, urging credible and well-sequenced fiscal reforms. The Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation has commenced the final liquidation of 89 defunct microfinance and mortgage banks. The move follows the revocation of their licenses by the Central Bank of Nigeria over regulatory breaches and financial instability. Under the resolution framework, new investors have taken over assets and liabilities, with successors institutions now operating under new identities. The NDIC say it is seeking court approval to formally dissolve the failed banks and conclude the liquidation process. The corporation maintained that the exercise is aimed at protecting depositors and strengthening confidence in the Nigeria banking sector. Nigeria's foreign reserves have declined by $1.3 billion within a 30-day period, raising concerns about external buffers. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria shows reserves fell from $50 billion in March to about $48.7 billion in mid-April. The drop is attributed to increased foreign exchange interventions and rising debt service obligation. While higher oil prices continue to support inflows, analysts warn that a reserve drawdown could limit the country's ability to withstand external shocks. Experts also caution that sustained pressure on the naira could fuel imported inflation, complicating monetary policy's decision. And lastly, a civil society organization has raised concern over the rapid adoption of artificial intelligence in Nigeria without a corresponding legal and regulatory framework. Executive Director of Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity, Umar Yakubu, says while AI is increasingly being deployed across sectors, including banking, healthcare, and agriculture, the absence of clear laws poses risks to data protection, governance, and national security.
We found that there's a lot of AI adoption, there's a lot of AI use, a lot of money is being spent, but there are a lot of national security risks, and there are a lot of risks in different sectors, in the healthcare sector, in the education sector, where a lot of data, our data is being used for different purposes. So as civil society, we felt there was the need to make government be aware and be responsible.
It is important to emphasize that AI governance is not solely a technical issue. It is also a policy, legal, and ethical matter. It requires a holistic approach that integrates technology with sound public policy and strong institutional...
Speakers at the stakeholder session on AI governance called on government to urgently enact a robust legal framework that will safeguard citizens' data, address bias, and ensure coordinated oversight across agencies.
AI readiness status. Except as a country we get to that status, nobody will take us serious. AI is one of the emerging technologies, which means it must have emanated somewhere. And
AI is greatly underfunded when it comes to the deployment and most especially the adoption. It's largely underfunded. So if there is a contextual approach to it, to deploy these things and to build knowledge.
The group also emphasized the need for inclusive policy making, urging authorities to involve civil society, media and technology stakeholders in developing regulations that balance innovation with accountability. And that's it on Kakaaki Business. Good morning.
And up next is Kakaaki Sports with Sembe Shima, an all-women affair. To stay with us.
All right, Cindy Chuksi got it right there. And all women affair this Friday. Good morning, welcome to Kakaaki Sports. Hang on this Friday, like we always say here. Well, this Friday, we'll be giving you recaps of activities that went on in the world of sports from during the week, and as we look forward to the weekend, as a fixture weekend lineup for this weekend. And so much to discuss, beginning with the UEFA Champions League, of course. We'll also look at the title race in the English Premier League and, of course, the Nigerian Premier League, where it's getting more intense as we look forward to March Day 35 this weekend. And, of course, if time permits, we'll touch on the semi-finalist results in the ongoing Edo FA Cup to wrap up things this morning. But I won't be alone this morning right here on the show. I'm being joined by my guests, debutants on the show this morning. No other person but Joyce Williams. Joyce Williams is joining me live from Lagos this morning.
Hello.
All right. Joyce, if you can actually hear me, Joyce is a sports analyst and a football specialist, in fact. She knows a lot when it comes to football, and she's a Manchester United fan. So we'll not be talking about Manchester United this morning because there's not so much to talk about when you look at Manchester United in the league, the UEFA Champions League, and even in the Premier League. But so much to talk about in the UEFA Champions League semi-finals, as the results are now known, the finalists, the semi-finalists are now known, the quarterfinals done and dusted. We've seen a shocking result. Precisely the game that was interesting was that one between Bayern and Real Madrid. It was looking like Real Madrid was going to take that one away from Bayern, but for some reason, they managed to, Bayern managed to keep their heads together and get that emphatic ticket to the next round, which is the semi-finals. Those are the results, as you can see right there. On aggregate, Arsenal held it down at the Emirates against Sporting, and it ended 1-0 on aggregate. And then also, if you see there, Bayern and Real Madrid, 6-4. That was a very competitive encounter. A lot of people were on the edge of their seat thinking Bayern were going to overturn this in their favor and perhaps progress. Real Madrid, I beg your pardon. They are the most successful team when it comes to the UEFA Champions League, 15-time champions of that particular competition, and it was looking like they were going for another contention in the title, but that didn't go their way that day. It ended 6-4 on aggregate, 4-3 on the second leg. And then we have the other result there, Atletico Madrid and FC Barcelona. Up the hill here, we have a lot of Barcelona fans, and it was quite, should I say, a sad one for them. Yes, a sad one, and a disgrace for some of us who have watched Barcelona from when we were small, and, had, the glory, remember the glory days of Barcelona, but there's no Messi there, you will say, there's no Neymar there anymore. But yeah, it ended 1-2 there, and then Atletico Madrid, Ademola Lookman got that emphatic goal to push Atletico Madrid into the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League for the first time since 2017. That was a good one. And then the star boy, Nigerian star boy, making the headlines there for Atletico de Madrid. It was quite an impressive one. We're looking at them, seeing them in the semi-finals. And the final one there was Liverpool and the defending champions, Paris Saint-Germain. Paris Saint-Germain ended that one there 4-0 on aggregate. Both legs, they made it a double against Liverpool, former champions, champions of the English Premier League, who couldn't hold their own there. It was a double, both at home and away, for Paris Saint-Germain to click that slot to the semi-finals. So now we know the semi-finalists is Arsenal, Bayern, Atletico Madrid, and Paris Saint-Germain. But the fixture will be definitely Paris Saint-Germain against Bayern Munich, and Arsenal will be up against Atletico Madrid. So the big question now everybody's asking, who would take this trophy? Who will progress to the next round? I wish I had Joy here to weigh in on this fixtures, and let me get her own thoughts on what it looks like going into the semi-final of the UEFA Champions League. But because it's looking very intense, and people are saying most likely we're going to have Arsenal, and Arsenal win the trophy. But now we have Joy live joining me. And Joy, good morning, welcome to Kakaaki Sports.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure.
For a second there, I thought I lost you. Anyways, I think the network is not our friend this morning. But, Joy, okay, if you can...
I think it's the network, because I can...
Boy, can you hear me?
I can see you guys.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you too.
All right, so quickly, the semi-finalists of the UEFA Champions League have been known now. We know Arsenal progress, Bayern Munich progress. We also know Atletico Madrid, who has Super Eagles, Ademola Lookman also progressed to the semi-finals. And Paris Saint-Germain will be going to defend the title. So quickly, how do you see this turning out? Who do you think will make it past the semi-final and perhaps raise the trophy?
Arsenal are looking like an underdog right now. I don't think them to go past this level, but we've seen them, Atletico Madrid, previously and they did well. We see them play, which I think are one of the best teams in the world, and go past them with ease. But PSG, Bayern Munich, wasn't good enough for the team last season. Oli said, looking like one of the best players in the world right now. PSG, I was saying it last season, this team is building a dynasty. Not a lot of chance was given to them last season. They were overlooked, especially how they did in the running in the Champions League. I'm tipping my hat for PSG to go 2-for-2 in the Champions League this season.
Wow. I mean, I thought you said an Arsenal. Arsenal, I'm being a fan of an English Premier League club. I know you're a Manchester United fan. So I was thinking you say Arsenal should pick this one. Arsenal should pick this one. But PSG for you it is. We'll see what happens in the coming. We're not talking about the English Premier League now or the Champions League. Let's move away from that to the English Premier League. Arsenal are in contention for the title. And one of the biggest games in football, in the English Premier League, will happen this weekend. Arsenal and Manchester City. And looking at the table, you will see Arsenal right on top of it, Manchester City right behind it with a game at hand. How do you think this will play out? Because, I mean, head-to-head, Pep Guardiola has won 8 out of 12 meetings that they've had together. But will Arteta make this the 5th one against Pep Guardiola, who happens to be like a teacher to him?
I mean, the worst Man City you want to face is the Man City in the running. We've seen them and how they have thrived over the last decade with Pep Guardiola, especially in this time of the season. Unluckily for Arsenal, I thought the loss in the Carabao Cup final was very detrimental to how their April has gone. I thought they needed to win that game to kill the morale of the Man City team. They didn't do that, and now we're seeing Man City like a man on fire. You don't want Man City behind you, especially in this time of the season. Hopefully for Arsenal, they are able to pull off a draw or a win. But anything less than that, a loss for them, I don't see them winning the league title.
So what will be your prediction precisely when it comes to that game? Because most people are saying Arteta will have a lot to prove, while Man City, most others are saying Pep Guardiola would rather just show dominance as he's always been in the English Premier League. What will be your prediction, scoreline?
I think it's going to be a really tough game. It's going to be probably a 1-1 or 2-2 draw.
1-1 or 2-2 draw. Okay, well, those are the current standing right there, as you can see in the English Premier League, as we go into one of the biggest fixture, or the most anticipated one right now in the English Premier League, as Manchester against Arsenal. And most of them are saying this is going to be the decider when it comes to the English Premier League title. We will keep our fingers crossed and see how that pans out. But quickly, Joy, now, before I let you go, let's quickly touch on Nigeria's Super Eagles. I mean, Eric Charles has come out to say a lot of things, and we know Nigeria's Super Eagles have been in the news for most of the right and wrong reasons, and not qualifying for the World Cup, one of the wrong reasons, but the right reasons that they've been doing so well individually in their various clubs. But now Eric Chell is saying that he's not only going to, he's going to go out there now to get more players to invite to the squad. And most of us are wondering, does this mean that what he has currently is not good enough, or he's just trying to create some sort of healthy competition, to get more results as regards to the national team? Quickly.
I mean, these are professionals that have showing their talent on the world stage. They should embrace any sort of competition to make the national team better. If you can't handle the heat, stay out of the kitchen. I think it's about time that Nigeria, or Super Eagles as a whole, are seen beyond just the AFCON. It's a disgrace that we didn't qualify for the World Cup, especially with the expansion of the World Cup. But Eric Schell, in my opinion, I think he has come in and done fantastic work. Nobody thought that we won't get to the level that we went to in terms of even going to the last stages of qualifying for the World Cup. All hopes were done, especially with the fact that we're not scoring enough of goals before he came in. With Victor Osimhen out injured, and how we're playing in general was just terrible. But what he has been able to achieve with this team, especially at the AFCON, I thought it was brilliant. I thought the football that we've been playing has been really good. And whatever you want, I think he should get it. If that is in getting players from the domestic league, even though I don't think that they have covered themselves in glory, especially the players that went to Chan. But some of the players in Europe, some of the players that have been given chances before that have been written off, maybe it's time for them to be given a chance, especially in the Unity Cup, and see how we can go from there.
All right. I mean, hopefully we'll see what happens. Eric Chell has come out to give us that hint as to what he plans to do with the national team. And like you rightly said, Joy, hopefully we'll get to see that he brings more players, better ones that will not just play the game, but get Nigeria qualifications, because I would like to see the likes of yourself at the World Cup and, you know, just analyzing what Nigeria perhaps would look like and give you get that chance. But thank you so much, Joy, for being a part of the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, now moving away from that, of course, let's quickly bring you updates when it comes to Nigeria Premier League matches to line up this weekend, and we'll be looking very interesting in the MPFL because the title is up for grabs. As you can see right there, matches to line up for Sunday, and then the big one there will be against, of course, the one involving Rivers and Rangers as they sit on top of the table right there. And in the bottom place, Remo Stars will be trying to battle for survive relegation in that place. Remo Stars are the defending champion. Would that happen? We'll see what happens. But as it stands, 4 teams are already going to leave the Premier League and 3 already qualified into the Premier League. 1 more left, talking about Inter Lagos, Sporting and Doma United already picked qualification to top flight. This means 3 teams here will go down and 1 more team will also go down after match day 35. Also, the Edo FA Cup is ongoing and the semi-finals are underway already. As you can see there, Spunky Blazers lost to Fortress Ladies. Fortress Ladies progressed to the final where they will face Edo Queens for a place in the for the trophy, ahead of the trophy in the final. And then in the men's category, Westgate and Interstar FC, it was Westgate who got the best of Interstar FA, and they'll progress to the final. And also the next one, there'll be Bender Insurance and St. Andrews coming up on Monday. But yes, we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. Thanks for being a part of the show this morning. I am Simbi Shima. Up next is the social intervention segment. Stay tuned.
And welcome to Get Fit in 60 Seconds with Jolly Phillips. Now, everyone has 60 seconds in every day to spare. So if you're ready, let's go! Hey, back again with the chair series. So, well done! I hope you had a great workout. Anyway, what I need you to do is to follow us on Instagram at Alpha Fitness Studios and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Alpha Fitness Studios, for free workout videos, free dance videos, sales and promos, and make sure you join us at the gym, Alpha Fitness Studios in Lekki Phase 1 next time you're in Lagos. So, until the next time, bye-bye!
Hello, great people of Nigeria. Welcome to the Leadership Clinic. It is very outstanding to even let you know that every time that you are in a community, you are in an environment, the interesting thing is that once humans' interactions are going on, there will be a time where there will be disagreements. The hardest place to lead is often in familiar territories. You argue with your spouse over small things, you clash with your neighbors, you have unresolved issues with your siblings. Conflicts are normal, but how you handle them determines whether your home is peaceful or your community is peaceful, or even the workplace is peaceful. How you handle your crisis, your conflict determines whether you are going to be able to be that leader people are going to look up to, that people are going to be excited about. In every little argument, what are you interested about? You are interested to win the argument. You can win the argument and you lose the friend. You can win the argument and you lose the workmate. You can win the argument by all means. And guess what? Everybody claps for you, but you have left somebody thinking that he or she is unworthy. So what does that mean? Here's what most people must understand about leadership. Leadership is actually knowing that somebody in front of you has made a mistake, but you overlook the mistake and you still offer a hand of fellowship. That's what happens a lot of times when my own staff they literally will do something that you want to like, oh my God, what is this? But after a while, they come back to you. They apologize for the situation. And immediately that apology is done. What happens? It's like nothing has happened. You move on to the next thing. And then they will do everything possible to make sure they don't repeat that same mistake again. That is leadership. Sometimes people around you will say some things that are hurtful to you. They will say things that could be damaging, but the way you are able to interpret all of that and ensure that your response is not destructive. First, lowering your voice is critical. The person who stays calm has more power than the person who shouts. Most of the time, when I want things get done, it's possible I raise my voice, but at the end of the day, guess what? Sometimes I go back to my private and I'm like asking myself, wait a minute, that sometimes calmness when things happen can actually be a sign of how you can be able to lead effectively. You must listen to understand and not to defend. I've always said that whenever there's a conversation, you must listen to understand. Understand the person's point of view, and at the end of the day, you can speak. You focus on the issues and not the person. And if you do anything that is wrong, apologize. Apology has capacity to calm nerves. Great people of Nigeria, you must remember, if a man does not have a purpose waking up, sleeping becomes interesting.
Look up, wear a smile. Here comes Lady Etty, etiquette queen.
In a world where character, confidence, and social intelligence shape success, refinement becomes a powerful advantage. This is Etiquette with Etty, the inspirational pep talk series where renowned etiquette expert Lady Etty shares practical wisdom and transformational life lessons designed to help individuals navigate life with dignity, poise, and purpose. Welcome to Etiquette with Etty.
She's got grace, she's got style.
Many people say yes, even when they want to say no. Why? Because they're afraid of offending someone. But here is the truth. Refined people know how to say no with elegance and grace. Hello there, I'm Lady Etty, your preferred refinement pedagogue, and today we're learning how to say no politely. Saying yes to everything is not kindness. Sometimes it is simply the fear of disappointing people. But when you say yes to everything, you often end up saying no to your time, priorities, and well-being. Here are 3 polite ways to say no with elegance and grace. Firstly, appreciate the request. Say, thank you for sharing your concern with me. Acknowledging the request shows respect. Secondly, decline clearly but gently. I am afraid I'm not able to commit right now. Clarity prevents misunderstanding. Thirdly, offer an alternative where and when possible. Perhaps we could revisit it another time or suggest someone else who may help. Remember, a polite no protects your time and preserves relationships. True refinement includes the courage to set boundaries with grace. Keep it elegant always.
Today on Etiquette with Etty, Lady Etty reminds us that refinement is not just about how we appear, but about how we think, how we speak, and how we treat others. Because true elegance begins with character and is expressed through grace. To deepen your journey in etiquette, personal refinement, and social excellence, you are invited to join the programs and masterclasses at ETI Global Academy, where individuals are equipped with the skills and confidence to thrive in today's world. Follow Lady Etty at The Lady Etty and Etiquette Africa at Etiquette Africa across all social media platforms for more transformational life tips and upcoming events. This program is proudly brought to you by ETI Global Academy and Etiquette Africa.
Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
Acting that is the law. National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
So people put people in poverty deliberately, deliberate misplacement of priorities, and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of
for the former president,
yes.
What I know is that he has not turned his membership card.
He has not been attending your meeting.
Leave that to us to deal.
There's no shying away from the issues.
The system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the
Welcome back. You're still watching Kakaaki, the African Voice on Africa Independent Television, and it's 7 o'clock. It's that time where we get to look at the papers this morning. I'll not be doing it alone. I've got two gentlemen right here in the studio. We have Emmanuel Aziken. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning.
I love the cap you have on this morning. And Ezio Challenge. Thank you so much for joining this morning.
Good morning.
Yes, we're looking very nice gentlemen. All right, so looking at the front pages of the papers, we're starting off with the Daily Global. We have 2027, you can't scare me. Tinubu dares Atiku, Obi, El-Rufai. That's the bold headline from the Daily Global. To the Authority newspaper, 2027, I'll seek re-election. Nobody can scare me off race. That's coming from the president, Tinubu. Atiku has no chance, says Wike. Starts on the front page and continues on page 2. To this Nigeria now, 2027, I'm not scared, Tinubu tells ADC, says Atiku, Obi, and Mechi, no match for him. Wike, ex-VP, going nowhere in the race. Pages 2 and 7 covers that on this Nigeria. To the New Telegraph, 2027, they want to scare me. I won't give up, from the president, says, I took over from myself. The late Buhari is me. Alleges opposition, Arrowhead supervised failed privatization of government properties, vows never to disobey lawful court orders. Page 2 of the New Telegraph. To the Daily Monitor, presidency to Atiku, abandon the idea of running again, slams ex-VP over comments on 2027 elections. And then just to look a little bit lower, we have rising transport costs deepens Nigeria's cost of living crisis, IMF warns. And that's the front page of the Daily Global. Now to the blueprint, why APC shouldn't be blamed for ADC, PDP's woes. That's from Yilwata. Our party paid dearly in Zamfara for ignoring due process. Party scribe Basiru warns against politicizing insecurity. And there's one here, still on the blueprint. Terrorists planning attack on Abuja Airport, Kuje Prison, Niger. That's the reports there. You pick up the blueprint and you have an insight into that. So moving on now to the daily assets. Gunmen abduct 14 UTME candidates in Benue en route exam center. Police launch rescue operation, probe night travel breach by Benue Links driver. And page 2 of the Daily Asset has that story. To the Daily Sun, gunmen abduct 14 UTME candidates in Benue, passengers also kidnapped in bus attack, page 4. Now to Al Jazeera, Nigeria, we have police fall bomb blast, arrest 6 suspects in Ondo. Document mapping out potential target locations recovered, suggesting premeditated and coordinated plan. That's from the CP on page 9. Moving along now to the Standard Times, we have terrorists planning to attack Abuja Airport. prison. Associated Press raises alarm. Starts on the front page of the Standard Times and continues on page 2. To the Observer's Times, we have a bitter pill for victims. 744 repentant terrorists set for reintegration into society. CDS warns ex-terrorists against returning to violence. The front page of the Observer's Times, and that story is on page 1 of that newspaper. To the Nigerian News Direct, FG to release 744 repentant terrorists after completing rehabilitation. Page 31 of the Nigerian News Direct. To the Business NG, FG set for revenue boost as Nigerian crude rallies to $113 per barrel. Tops Brent. Starts on the front page, continues on page 2. And also, Dangote Group debunks viral claim of FG revenue on every bag of cement, page 2. That's coming after a video trended on social media. That's the front page of the Business NG. And now to the Whistler, we have Nigeria's debt to GDP may hit 33.1% on fresh loans. IMF warns, says over 20 million Nigerians, others face food insecurity, page 10 of the Whistler. And back to our reviewers this morning. We'll start off with the story of the 2027 elections. Most of the papers carries it. The Daily Global, Authority newspaper, This Nigeria, New Telegraph, Daily Monitor, and it reads, "You can't scare me. Tinubu dares Atiku, Obi, El-Rufai." And the president is talking tough going into the 2027 elections.
It's remarkable, and this follows from what the president of the Senate said the other day at the commissioning of the building of the National Revenue Service. Sure. He did say that there were attempts to scare the president off, that they were using violence, using insurgents and all manner of attacks to scare the president away. Now the president is now giving his response. And for a president who came to power, despite the mountainous challenges against him, he was able to scare them off. He was able to win and to run with power. You remember a large segment of the Buhari bloc was against him. The opposition was against him. There were issues against him locally and abroad. And he was able to win power, and he has grabbed it. So for such a president, despite the opposition, as it were, of the major tendencies within the former Buhari administration against him, he was able to win. So you can see the confidence with which he's coming, that you cannot scare him. And he's showing it. He has the institutions of state with him, and he's able to detect the pace and pattern to which those institutions would help him. So I think the president is coming from a position of confidence. But there are issues for me that this confidence is radiating. Yeah. It comes against the background of the pitiable situation in the land. It comes against the background, and the other day, one of our colleagues almost cried on air. That's Yobusa. He said I think he said he watched the video of the Unijust student who was captured. And it pains me that at a time that such things are happening in the land, it seems as if we are wholly devoted, and governance and the political leaders are wholly devoted to the issue of re-election. You can imagine the fate of that Unijust student. Nigeria failed that student that is in such a situation. And it's not only him. It's all over the land. People are held in captivity by bandits. And government does not seem to have that kind of confidence. How wish the president could respond to these bandits with such aura, with such confidence. I'm going to deal with you. Not that this will not happen again, as he said in Jos. Just as before his plane landed after his 10-minute stay in Jos, the bandits were all over again, attacking Jos and attacking Plateau State. So I want to see that kind of confidence in the president in attacking the situations in the land, the pains in the land, the pain of banditry, the pain of insecurity, the pain of economic, the pains that the economy is bringing on the populace. You can imagine going to buy fuel at 1,300. It has become a normal for us. Okay. A place like Iran that is in war, a place like Libya that is ungoverned, they are not buying fuel at such rates. We in Nigeria seem to be buying it.
All right, let's bring Nze into the conversation now. And a lot of comments about the president's statements yesterday. And a lot of people are asking the question, why does it seem that the president only has voice when it comes to political issues? Also, a bit of contradictions because you see, for a while now, we've seen some of his supporters try to distance him from past administration. That's talking about Muhammadu Buhari's administration. But yesterday, he did claim that he was part of that administration, so he was Buhari, Buhari was him, such a situation. But why is it that the president is vocal when it comes to just the 2027 election?
You see, our president saying he won't be scared. It shouldn't be, because nobody will look at President Tinubu and see him as somebody who will be scared. Because he has been an experienced and maverick politician. He has made and unmade politicians. He has supported governments, even when the Buhari that he said he is himself now. He was very, very supportive of that government. We know what happened at the Lagos National Convention, national primaries of the party in 2022 or 2023. We know the roles he played. He is very strong politically, no doubt about it. He's not a pushover. And he's a strong-hearted man that nobody can scare. Even the consortium of lead stakeholders in the opposition party. But that does not mean that he has said it, and we know that, yes, Tinubu is not somebody that will be scared. But the body language of the party, of the ruling party, looks like a party that is scared. If the president and his parties insist or maintain that they are not scared, that the others are not politically, strong enough to defeat them, allow a free and fair poll. Allow a free and fair poll. If you know that, yes, I have what it takes to dust these guys, let them go to the pool and test it. But what is going on now around the opposition party does not suggest a political party or a president or a candidate that is not scared. So I strongly believe that, yes, the president has what it takes. So, but the major thing is that what Nigerians need is free, fair, transparent election that will meet all international standards. So if you are saying you are not scared and you still feel, people still feel that you feel threatened by the works, by the acts, by the, what is going on, I don't think he can convince Nigerians at this time.
Yeah, but why won't the president say that, considering what has happened in the past 2 days with the ADC, Atiku Abubakar's comments on his colleagues in the opposition party, because it looks like it's caused a bit of rift between supporters of all these different individuals in the party, talking about how he says he's the right person for the job. The others can't compare to him when it comes to experience.
Is his right to position himself. It is Atiku's right, the former vice president's right, because he is going for a contestation. He's seeking to fly the party's ticket. But what Nigerians are saying is, like also what Tinubu's supporters are saying, his aides are saying is Atiku right to seek that election? Constitutionally, yes. But from the structure, framework, agreement in the country as regards zoning, no.
Okay.
Because that was what caused the pollution, the uncontrollable problem, crisis, that few people are now trying to put together, count their losses, and move on in PDP. If not for what happened in 2023, if not for the PDP fielding Atiku in that election, There is no doubt about it. PDP, APC wouldn't have won that election.
Okay. All right, let's leave it.
But with what is going on now, if ADC fails to heed the advice of many people, including President Bola Tinubu's aides and their supporters, what happened to the major opposition party that was almost coasting to victory in 2023, that is the PDP, could repeat in 2027. Okay. That is why the president can say he's not scared.
Before you come on, I'd just like to introduce the next, talking point. Then you can take probably the first 5 seconds to wrap up what, on his comments, though. So the second talking point for today is that gunmen abduct 14 UTME candidates in Benue en route exam center from the Daily Asset and the Daily Sun. Another sad situation we've had, and these are just kids who are just starting out life, away from their families.
As I come to that, I just want to reiterate one issue. The fact that the president, in his address yesterday, mentioned to the past activities of some of his rivals. He specifically challenged those he claimed did privatization, and in fact, mentioning one of them also privatizing a political party. So I think those are some of the issues and ingredients that should come to the fore. That people who have held political office in the past should be interrogated on their performances. So when the president brings that, he should also know the fact that his own performance in office, as concerning security, as concerning the economy, should also be interrogated.
Exactly.
So people should let us make discussions. Let the environment be made conducive for issues to be discussed. And that brings to the issue of insecurity that led to 17 students going to write their examination, being kidnapped, being abducted by bandits. And this is not the first, this is not the second. We have had people who have been kidnapped from their schools. We bring to remembrance the issue of Leah Sharibu, which has almost been forgotten. In fact, one of his key aides and key campaigners took that as a key phrase in his activism. So, but now of insecurity, and it's rampaging everywhere. Yes, the day before we heard of even in the FCT, the issues of insecurity now coming to the fore. Now trying to control the way people live their lives. So, but are you trying to tell me now that people should not go to school again because of insecurity? And it is the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of governance. So can we bring it to the fore that the administration has been able to play its game as concerning security? Have you been able to satisfy the Nigerians that, yes, you have provided security for them? Have you provided welfare for them? Those are issues that should be discussed at this time. And I pity the lot of those children. And it's not only them. It's almost everywhere. The Unijust student I mentioned. Imagine how that student, I've not watched that video, but I've had people lament about it. The student being brutalized by non-state actors, even if by non-state actors, and the government keeps quiet. Akpabio is praising the government that those bandits, that the kidnap of that student is being caused by political rivals.
Elections.
Is it because of 2027 they kidnapped that boy is in custody now? People are paying millions. People are paying millions for ransom, and government is keeping quiet, turning the other way. So I think it's unfair. What has happened to those Benue students, I pity them, and I pray that they be released very soon by God's grace.
Now, what needs to change, actually? Because we hear of kinetic, non-kinetic, and especially with the non-kinetic, we see discussions, with these bandits, negotiations, paying of ransoms, and what actually needs to change to discourage this terrorism that's happening in our country?
Last week when we were here, we read this can never happen again. And I stood here to say it. Who told him it would not happen again? I remember I said that. How can you say it will not happen again? What have you put in place to make it not happen again? Look at the case of the UniJust student. Emma is just talking about Elia Sharibu. Do you know that the remaining Chibok girls in Borno, those ones have gone to history? It has happened in Niger. Even the same day, the 17 were kidnapped along Makode Otupo Road. It was also happening in Kwara. And somebody is telling us it is caused by a political opponent. At what point did we realize, did we notice it now that? So this thing now started maybe early this year, because people now are talking about 2027. You see, when you say a government that has failed its youths. Look at these kidnapped JAMB candidates. What was their offense? That they were going to write for JAMB, to pursue a brighter future? They lied, nobody protected them. You can now feel now as one of the parents of these children. My daughter wrote JAMB yesterday. When this news broke, I was looking at it, putting it together with how could this be? When the people will say that in Igbo land, they say when you carry another person's body, some people will feel that you are carrying firewood. That is exactly what is happening in Nigeria. Our leaders are busy sharing their loots, positioning themselves for one position or the other. You are talking about how to stop this. Just yesterday, 744 repented.
Yeah, that's our next
terrorists
stories from the Observer.
Were thrown into the society again.
Well.
That number now completed to over 3,000 so-called repented terrorists. How many of them? How would you control them? How would you monitor them? You sewed clothes, gave them Nigerian flag cap and other things, pushed them into the society, back into the society, with uncontrolled. You don't know their destination now. And these are people who already have blood in their hand, who have put some families in pain, who has caused problems, shedded bloods, killed Nigerian soldiers. And those same soldiers, Nigerian military, still brought them in the name of their, what do they call it? They are rehabilitating them. Did you look at the faces of the people they said they were rehabilitating? The photo, the video that was played, did you look at the faces? They have pushed them back into the society. And tomorrow, you want Nigerians to believe that you are fighting terror. Tomorrow, you want the families of those they have killed to believe that they have a country that protects them. You believe that when they come and say that this country has failed them, would you say they are not right? What was the sin of the UniJust student? The president went to JUST and said this will not happen. Barely 4 hours, he left JUST. Killing started again. I said it here that who told him. And it was just the same way. Nothing is being done now. As far as insecurity is concerned, nothing is being done. The concentration now, the concentration of Nigerian leaders now is 2027, you cannot scare me. 2027, consensus. 2027, endorsement. People have forgotten that, like Emma said, a liter of petrol in this country is sold at 1,330 naira. Just in Abuja, if you go down east, it's more than that. If you travel further in the north, it's more than that. People have forgotten now that the prices of even the foodstuff that the government claimed has gone down. Go to the market now and price how much is a mudu of beans. How much is a basket of tomato? How much is a basket of onions? If you fail to make people have a very good welfare, who will come to the pool and vote? An angry man, they said, a hungry man, they said, is an angry man. I always say it. As I was driving to AIT this morning, from Mogadishu Barrack there to this Kobe village, I saw how people were trooping out, going to factories to do their work. I saw how people trooped out, marching to go and make ends meet, because there has been a construction work that is going on. Yes, everybody must not work. No matter how you treat a country too, there must be bad eggs. It's like that in it. But what we are saying is, provide the job first. Yes. I have said it here, that in those days, you see our parents, they will leave the village and tell you in Igbo land, they say they are going to Oshibeke. They are going outside their own enclave to struggle. Some will go to Port Harcourt, some will go to Enugu, some will go to Lagos to do mineral factory work. Okay. But the jobs are no longer there. Okay. The factories have all folded. Okay. So where will they work? And they must meet, and ends must meet.
Okay. Looking at providing jobs and all, going into the budget for 2026. Just
repentant bandits.
Yes. Also, FG set to for revenue boost as Nigerian crude rallies to $113 per barrel, tops Brent. That's a Business NG story. I don't know why Emmanuel is having a laugh there.
I saw that headline. But first of all, these are repentant or repented bandits, as it were. It's a sad irony that we have a situation where victims are being neglected and their persecutors and their killers are being justified. You can see the picture of those repented bandits. You can see how chubby looking they are. Meanwhile, at the same time, the victims, those they clubbed, those they macheted, and as many as they have made widows and widowers and orphans, are left neglected. So it calls to question the justification for this safe corridor policy. Because one is at a loss. What has it been the gain? Because you have continued to do it, and more Nigerian soldiers, more Nigerian soldiers are being killed. Even to the extent that what we didn't have in the Civil War, generals are now being killed. Generals are now being killed. So it's unfortunate. That should be called to question, because it's as if Nigeria has a dual policy. You have in Okwama a society, a community in Delta State, where a professor has been held in captivity for 2 years.
Yeah. And you are freeing
bandits. Okay. So it's unfortunate. Nigeria's oil is increasing. Crude oil is increasing. More kudos, more money coming to the federal government, but at the detriment of the common people. Because the higher the crude goes, now fuel is selling at 1,300 naira. It will rise to 1,500 for the common man.
But would they be able to make...
And it's unfortunate that Nigeria is a producing country.
But
we should have a policy.
I was coming to the production. Would they be able to benefit from it? Because we keep hearing production output fluctuates. You know, from 1.6 million, it drops to 1.5, it drops...
That's another thing. Because the production... Mark you, under the Obasanjo administration, our production got to more than 2 million barrels. It's under the APC administration, it's under the immediate past administration, we began to see shortfall in productions because enough measures were not put to expand the production the production wells, the oil wells. So it's unfortunate. Oil prices may increase, but Nigerians are going to suffer because we do not have a policy to contain the effects of international oil price fluctuations to protect the domestic economy. Because it should be. We have other oil-producing countries that domestic prices do not fluctuate the way it fluctuates with the, in the international market. Because Nigeria we should have a policy of benefiting. There should be a policy of comparative advantage, competitive advantage. There should be an advantage to Nigeria, the fact that we are producing oil. But we don't have that advantage as it is now. So one will call on the administration, whatever increase we are having, that they should, whatever increase that is happening in the international oil market, it should not bounce back to bring about a spiraling of domestic prices. That will lead to inflation. We already seen that inflation is already increasing. The Tinubu administration had, to some extent, tried to bring down
the biggest scam.
But now,
the biggest
inflation
scam
is
in
already
this
increasing.
country. The biggest scam is in this country is energy and power.
Okay, thank you. We'll just leave it at that.
Energy and power.
Because if
we don't know how we
have
produce,
the time to continue.
how we sell, how we import, and how we distribute.
All right.
In power, of course, it has become a norm here in this country that we should expect grid collapse and powers fluctuate. I mean, a shortage every time. Even when the discos, the gencos are now getting money.
All right,
but
thank you,
still don't have
Eziocha Nze and Emmanuel Azikian, for joining me this morning to review the papers. Thank you, Jetsobe.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go on a short break and we'll take our first interview of the day. It's on Plateau Security Peace Move. So do stay with us, don't go anywhere.
Focus, Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
Ask him where is the law. National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
So people put people in poverty deliberate misplacement of priorities and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of the former president, what I know is that he has not turned his membership card. He has not been attending your meeting. Leave that to us to deal.
There's no shying away from the issues.
The system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
People, politics, and power brings context and clarity to issues and events in governance, democracy, and development. On People, Politics, and Power, we feature people who shape the events and define the issues.
A lot of the agencies are still struggling with implementation of freedom of information.
The government should come. We need Nigeria to work.
We examine the interplay and interaction of politics with power and their impact on policies and the people.
It's about getting the system to deliver the kind of electoral outcome that people will be happy with.
People, Politics, and Power with Imoni Amarere.
Will low-performing agencies be held to account? Or will the numbers fade after the headlines?
At 1 p.m. every Monday and Friday on AIT. The issues as they break. The The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy.
And our government seem to be incapable of protecting.
The scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go.
Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigue.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection. I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe it, but for that reason, politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
Ask him where is the law. National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
So people put people in poverty deliberately, deliberate misplacement of priorities, and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of the former president, yes, what I know is that he has not turned his membership card. He has not been attending your meeting.
Leave that to us to deal.
There's no shying away from the issues.
The system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
Welcome back to Kakaaki, the African Voice on AIT, and we are heading to our first interview of the day on Plateau security and peace moves. Joining us is John Chun, Director, Plateau State National Assembly Affairs Liaison Office, Organizer, Peace Security Dialogue. Good morning, John. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. John, if you can hear me, kindly unmute your mic, please.
All right, hello, okay. Good morning.
All right.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Yeah.
Good morning, AIT, yes.
Yeah. All right, so can you give us a situation report on the security situation, in Plateau State, especially in Jos North, which was attacked almost 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, thank you, and good morning, Nigeria. It's unfortunate that we are still here talking about security issues in this time in our life as a country. Unfortunately so, since 2001, Plateau State has come under intense attack. It started within the city center and then gradually gravitated to the villages, and then here we are today. But many thanks to His Excellency, the Governor of Plateau State, for his proactive measures to curtailing and now the situation returned to normalcy. Measures taken by government, including the curfew, is gradually being relaxed. We had more updates yesterday of the curfew being relaxed from 6 to 7. And so economic activities have picked up. People are going about their normal activities. There was JAM examination where people express a lot of fears, many incidents, particularly to the children who have gone to write their exams. So His Excellency is on top of the situation and the security agencies. The people are cooperating and the city is returning back to normal.
Okay. All right, now, the curfew that was imposed in Jos North not long ago was relaxed on Wednesday. Can you give us an update on why it was relaxed and not totally lifted?
Well, in the first place, for a government to put a curfew in place, it has to be a product of an overhaul of security review and security advice from the State Security Council. So I am sure, based on the indices suggested by the Security Council of the state, they felt it was fairly okay to relax the curfew because there is daily monitoring by the security agencies, watching the streets and, of course, the behavioral pattern of the people before they arrive at some of these decisions. So the decision was taken based on the advice of the security agencies. But I can assure you that in no distant time, if this kind of progress is continued to be witnessed, there will be a total relaxation of the curfew so that people can go about their normal businesses.
Okay, so would there be like a timeline for when the curfew will be totally lifted? And
well,
is there an assurance from security agencies that everything seems to be okay in that part of the state?
Definitely, yes. The assurances are there, but of course there must be extra precautionary measures that government must take. Even if the security report indicates that you can lift the curfew totally, there is nothing wrong in giving room for observation to be sure that the decisions that are going to be taken are not going to take you miles backwards. So I believe that this is not the first time that there has been a curfew in the city. At some point, there was total lift up of the curfew. But as I speak to you, I cannot give you timelines to say on so and so day, I can assure you of the total lifting of the curfew. But we are making steady progress. His Excellency is monitoring activities. He's been on ground. He has visited affected people. He has been taking security briefings on a daily basis and is reviewing his decisions. His ultimate goal is to protect lives and property. So, if allowing the curfew a little longer will guarantee the life and safety of people and their investments, I think he's happy to do that. But he's also not happy that there is a curfew in the city in the first place.
Okay.
But situations have warranted that at this material time, he had no option than to take such decisions. But we are making progress.
All right. Now, this has been a very busy week for the authorities there in Plateau State. Now, let's move to the high-level dialogue which happened and which you're also a key person, for. Can you give us an update on what that dialogue is all about in trying to end the violence in Jos?
Thank you so much. The dialogue was basically a product of a motion on the floor of the House of Representatives, sometimes in July last year, where the continued unabated killings within Plateau State and, of course, elsewhere in the country necessitated the members of the House of Representatives to move a motion that resulted into the constitution of this ad hoc committee headed by Honorable Dr. Ahmed Wale. And of course, many thanks to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, for swiftly putting that committee together. But I can tell you that what happened in Jos April 14th in the dialogue was more like a concluding part of the committee's work, because they have been up and about, talking to stakeholders. They've taken memorandums from various communities, traditional council, the civil society organizations, the academia, the former leaders, former governors of Plateau State. They have been interviewed. The whole idea is to galvanize incessant killings that have been going on unabated.
Okay, John.
And then to come up with resolutions and recommendations that could be tabled in the House for possible action. And I thank the chairman of the committee, who spoke very firmly and said, look, this is not going to be one of those committees that will come and perform a jamboree and disappear into the thin air. He promised to come back with the resolutions, that far-reaching resolutions that may be arrived at in the House of Representatives. So we're looking forward for that. And I particularly, as a liaison officer to the Governor, National Assembly Affairs, we're going to be following up with the Office of the Speaker and that of the Chairman of the Committee to ensure that the recommendations are fully presented to the House and actionable plans arrived at, and of course, succor for our people back home. So we are going to be monitoring, we're going into another phase of that committee work.
All right, so give us a little bit of a detail on what those recommendations are for that dialogue.
All right, so fine. If I take you back in some of the things that have happened, dating back to 2001 to 2025, the 2026 results have not been updated. The approximate number of deaths in Plateau, as compiled by some civil society organizations, is in excess of 12,000.
Okay.
Number of communities that have been either destroyed or taken over completely by herdsmen, in excess of 460. Displaced communities, displaced persons within the entire space of Plateau State is in excess of 25,000. So with these statistics and numbers, you begin to look at the takeouts or the recommendations of the committee to be able to put a stop to the recurrent killings, destruction of properties, and of course, displacement of people from their ancestral homes. So the dialogue looked at a lot of varieties of issues. A comprehensive report is going to be put together by the committee, but preliminary, we had everyone in the hall agreed that there is a need to amend Section 214 of the 1999 Constitution to allow for the review and adoption of state police. Most of the stakeholders agreed that there is now need for state police to be created. And thankfully, as mentioned by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, as represented by Honorable John Dafan, that by the end of 2026, the National Assembly is expected to have concluded the amendment of the Constitution, particularly Section 214, to accommodate the creation of state police. So that was one of the things the dialogue arrived at. And of course, there was also an agreement that there must be an enhanced security presence, particularly in the affected areas of Plateau State where you have this recurrent decimal of attacks. Of the 9 points that were preliminarily agreed on, there is also need for proactive intelligence that will see to security agencies having technology deployment to assist them in coordinating the affairs of the security. You must have heard the governor talking about, through his representative, the coordination house that has already been set up and is being helped by the use of drones to map out the high-risk areas, places that are providing threats. So the president, in his visits in Jos last 2 weeks, clearly made an intervention and said over 5,000 closed-circuit television, what you would call CCTV, will be mounted all around Plateau State to help the security agencies to be able to track the activities of bandits, of the herdsmen, or whoever terrorists that invade communities in our communities. So that was agreed in the dialogue that should be one of the strong recommendations to help the security agencies. Then, of course, the role of community and traditional rulers leadership needs to be reviewed. And in my own personal opinion, I feel that the traditional council plays a very critical and crucial role in our governance structures today. But do they have a constitutional role? The answer is no. So I would have suggested that the National Assembly should look out and fashion out ways where our traditional institutions will be, will be given some leverage to be able to be part of the governance structure, to be strengthened, so that our efforts in community policing is going to be complemented. But they are handicapped. How much is the traditional ruler earning, for instance? It's nothing to write home about. So coordination must be recognized constitutionally. And I would suggest, if Mr. President will find it expedient, to add to the issue of state police and ensure that there is an incorporated element of the traditional council, they let them have a role because they know the communities, they know the strangers, they know the every nook and cranny of their people, they know households. So finding ways to bringing them into the discussion, I think, is going to help the security situation. And of course, the sixth point there that was also agreed upon was that there must be judicial accountability. And what do I mean by that? The committee or the dialogue arrived at that. Look, whenever there are perpetrators of these crimes, government must ensure that there is judicial accountability. Those that need to be prosecuted must be prosecuted. I was just watching in the news earlier talking about repentant Boko Haram being reintegrated into the society. You know, that when it can be viewed in different ways. For victims of their attacks who are still alive and lost family ones, for them, that will be the greatest injustice done on their families. For someone who has maimed, killed, and destroyed your sources of economy and your loved ones, to be seen, trained, and reintegrated in the society, working freely, I think it brings a lot of mixed feelings, and people won't be wrong if they begin to find some resentments and all of that. So justice must be done to those who have perpetrated, been found perpetrated. So another point that was arrived at was restriction and safety measures must be adopted. And then, of course, the most important, one of the most important points there is there must be an economic revival to all those who have lost fortunes in this crime. I'll give you an example. One of the reports that caught my attention, one of the memorandums that caught my attention was the one that was submitted by Beko, Fan District in Barkiladi local government, where the first attack took place 17th of March around 5 a.m. and their traditional ruler, retired Sergeant Da Pambot, was killed alongside a serving councillor. Between that period and now, with 11 others, between that period and now, you have, they've recorded in one day, they recorded losses in cows, in maize, in cabbages, to the tune of over 1.245 billion naira, and nobody has compensated them for those kind of losses. So the economic aid for IDPs is a crucial part of the recommendations in that dialogue that we will ensure that we follow through, and to see that government in their resolution collates whatever that the people have lost all through this period of crisis. And they must be adequately compensated. From preliminary, I can see that billions and billions of naira has been lost in properties. Billions and billions of naira has been lost in households, structures. So communities have to be rebuilt. Those 460 communities, government must find a way to rebuild them. And those who lost their source of livelihood must also be. And then the last point there is that the dialogue agreed that we must combat misinformation in the social media, and then, of course, separate religion and politicization of our governance. Because most of the religious clerics have been contributing in making very unfounded statements that have sparked a lot of crises within the country, and not just Nigeria alone. And then, of course, deep involvement in politics on the pulpit or on the Islamic pulpit. I don't know what they call it. So those must be looked into.
All right, now looking at what should be looked into, I know that the governor, Caleb Mutfwang, has talked about not just using normal security measures, to tackle this issue, that the root causes need to be looked into. Have those root causes been actually identified, during this dialogue and by the governor as well?
Well, thank you so much. Like I said, His Excellency has been working tirelessly to ensure that both kinetic, non-kinetic measures, dialogue with traditional council and all of that, the security agencies, the communities are carried along to discuss. Now, at the end of this dialogue, what you will call the root causes were mostly dependent on which platform you were coming from.
Okay.
I'm not talking about participants now. For some, they identified historical grievances as the root causes. For some, they feel that for the indigenous people, particularly in the most affected local governments of Barikin-Ladi, Riom, Mangu, Bokos, and then Basa, they feel that the remote causes of these insurgents and infiltration by herdsmen that has continued for over 2 decades is nothing but simply a competition for the resources that are endowed in these communities. And what are these resources? In most of these local governments, you have tin, you have arable land, you have very good streams that give good water to animal husbandry, you have a leverage of green grasses that are suitable for grazing. And so therefore, they, on their own part and submissions, there is this holistic convergence of opinion that, look, it is a intimidate, kill, and occupy syndrome that is happening in these communities. That is what those communities feel it's the root cause of their... So there is a run for their resources, a run for their territories, and a run to occupy and take over. So these 460 communities I earlier mentioned to you fall into this category of those displaced communities that have been taken over and are now either being occupied or by unknown people or alien to the communities, or the vast land is being used as grazing areas for open grazings against, and that's why part of the recommendations would be that government must be able to take the recommendation of the National Assembly and look into the issues of open grazing in people's farms that were never acquired by the invading insurgents. So those would be the submissions of those communities. And then, of course, for some, they feel that there is over-politicization of religion.
All right.
Then, for some, they feel that there is the cycles of revenge and impunity has persisted from 2001 till date.
Yes.
So, and then for some, they feel that there's weak conflict resolution mechanisms that has led to the proliferation of, small and medium firearms.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, John Chun, Director, Plateau State National Assembly Affairs Liaison Office, Organizer, Peace Security Dialogue. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we wish that this dialogue, brings peace to the people of Plateau State going forward. Thank you so much.
It is our belief that it will bring lasting peace, and we will follow through and make sure recommendations are returned back to just for implementation. Thank you.
All right, so at the moment now we'll go on a short break, and when we return, it will be time for Kakaaki Social. Do stay with us.
The issues as they break, the multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy. And our government seem to be incapable of protecting
the scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go. Every part of this country is important.
The intrigues.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection. I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe in godfatherism in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
The stories now break online. Don't miss any anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content, follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
Hello, everyone. Excellent morning to you. This is Kakaaki Social. Thank you so much for being a part of it today and for doing your Friday morning with us. I am Onoshorena Obuzege. Well, we'll start on a sad note, which would be that the Benue State Governor, Hyacinth Alia, has expressed deep concern and outrage over the abduction of 14 passengers, mostly young candidates of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, at Otukpo. A statement by his chief press secretary, Tesu Kula, strongly condemned what he termed reprehensible and cowardly act by criminal element. He said the targeting of innocent citizens, particularly students on their way to sit for examinations, is unacceptable and stands against every norm of humanity and civil order. A source who spoke to AIT on the condition of anonymity said the bus, which was conveying about 18 passengers, was intercepted near Otukpo around 8 p.m. on Wednesday by suspected bandits who took most of the occupants into the bush, but 2 people, the driver and 1 passenger, managed to escape. How sad right there. But we'll have your thought instead of mine. In reaction to this, we cross over to X right now to see what you're saying to this. Nonso P says, this is crazy. People can no longer go about their daily lives. Students are now scared to go to school. UTME candidate abducted. University students kidnapped. NYSC members are not spared. Everyone is afraid. No one knows whose turn it is. Which way? Nigeria. Alex Onya says, I raised this concern to JAMB last year and did repeated reminders to them this year, but it fell on deaf ears. How on earth can you ask students to come for an exam from 6:30 a.m. in a country extremely unsafe as Nigeria? How I wish I can help. I saw it ahead and cried out. Another thought also to this, Daddy Faye says, Nigeria is too rich to feel this unsafe. Every day it's a new headline, new victims, new fear. Security shouldn't be a privilege. It's a basic right. We deserve to live, move, and sleep without fear. But we have someone who is affected. Resin took to the space of social media on X specifically to say, Nigerian has happened to me. They just kidnapped my 2 younger brothers on their way to Otukpo to write JAMB. They are just teenagers. I have been trying to reach those 2 boys since yesterday evening. I tried now, and a police officer picked the last one's call. And then the designer is asking her, well, I'm not sure what gender that is with the username. He says, and what did the police officer say? Then the user came back to say that I should get in touch with my parents should in case they want to call for ransom. What else? And that's the reaction right there. And just so you were wondering, oh, how did the police get into the picture? A further post by her highlighted that apparently the phone fell in the bus where they were captured. And it's not like they are together. The police is not with the victims, maybe not yet at the time of this post. However, it seems the phone fell inside. And when the police got to the scene of the crime, they recovered the phone and they could take calls. That's how the police got into the picture, according to the account shared there. Sad. Well, the federal government has announced the reintegration of 747 former terrorists and victims of violent extremism into society following their graduation from its de-radicalization program under Operation Safe Corridor. Authorities say the initiative is part of ongoing effort to promote peace and stability in affected regions, and that's to reduce the risk of re-offending. A breakdown of the beneficiaries will show you that majority of them, 597, are from Borno State, 2 from Abia, 10 Adamawa, 1 from Akwa Ibom, 2 Anambra State, 12 Bauchi State, 3 Ebonyi, 1 Enugu, 15 from Kano, 3 from Katsina, 1 from Kebbi, 5 from Kogi, 4 Nasarawa State, 2 Niger, 2 Plateau, 2 Sokoto, and 58 from Yobe State. Well, let's go to the scene of the event, their graduation.
Graduating here today are individuals who at one point had normal lives. They have their dreams. They have visions and aspirations. However, due to circumstances beyond their control, many were abducted, coerced, or drawn into the complexities of conflict.
Let me also emphasize that Operation Safe Corridor is not an amnesty program, and it is not a sign of weakness. It complements military operations by addressing the human terrain of conflicts, reducing recidivism, thus relapsing back to former criminal actions, and weakening the ideological foundations of violent extremism.
All right, let's see what you make of this. Videos from this event went viral yesterday, taking reactions now. Cross says, I believe once you decide to be a terrorist, you already chose death once you are caught. We should not be negotiating with terrorists. And he's heartbroken right there with the emojis. Badmore says, I can never understand the rationale behind this idea. People who slaughter us, massacre us, kidnap us, chase us from our farms, make life unbearable for us. When we now catch them, instead of giving them same treatment, they are being rehabilitated and released. Can anyone make this sensible to me? Another thought, Joshua Adams says, I'm curious about the syllabus for Repentance 101. Is it a weekend seminar, or do they just have a promise they are super sorry on a pinky soil? Well, I'm not repentant to Boko Haram. I have no idea. I haven't been there. I'm not a facilitator as well. You may want to find out for us. CII says, this reintegration of over 700 repentant Boko Haram fighters feels like a slap to the faces of victims' families and fallen soldiers. De-radicalization sounds good on paper, but with no ironclad monitoring or community consent, how do we prevent recidivism? Nigeria deserves justice first, not rush second chances for killers. Now you can decide to kill. Moreover, you will be integrated. For him, that's the message being sent out right there. Some more thoughts and conversations to this story coming from the space of X as well. But in the meantime, we go to our next story, which would be that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is speaking to critics of his administration and is asking them to go get glasses if they cannot see his development strides everywhere. At the Renewed Hope Ambassadors meeting in Abuja by Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma, the president pushed back against critics, insisting his administration's impact is visible across infrastructure, across education, and even the economy. He described his political continuity, saying that he took over leadership from himself, while also referring to the late Muhammadu Buhari as a partner in governance. He says he cannot be intimidated voted, at least not now that he is the president. He also spoke about ADC. He says that convention was a street convention. He spoke about Atiku and privatization as well. Let's take a minute plus to hear him.
This economy, I don't have to look back, because the truth is, I took over for myself. The late Buhari is me. He was a partner. And if I took over from him, is that not from myself? That is why we ask you to renew their hope. If they don't want to see the hope, and the roads that we bridge, and the children we raise, and the economy we are growing, we lend them Jiggy Bola. We give them eyeglasses to ensure democracy survives. Not the noise making, not the rascality of a street convention. I can assure you, this is whatever you say I do. But one thing that they want to scare me off is a lie. During the primary that got me here, hey, it was tough. During the general election, it was tough. Now that
All right, let's see some of your reactions to this. Niger Intel says, Omo, whining of the decade. Which road? Same road kidnappers operate freely on day in, day out. Which children did your regime raise? The ones being slaughtered in masses? Which economy is a regime growing with fuel at 1,300 naira per litre? Is this a joke? Another thought. This user says, Hefzibah says, in other words, all Nigerians must be blind for them to say they didn't see his good governance. Buhari called our tribe in Nigeria a dot in the circle. Tinubu called the whole Nigerians blind people. Another thought also coming to this, it's Stocksade. It says it was a strategic statement to cajole Buhari's voting bloc into voting for him in 2027. But he forgot that all along, he and his team has been distancing themselves from Buhari's administration. He doesn't want to associate with Buhari's administration, even though they are of the same political party, but want his voting bloc. This is fraud, if you ask me. Some more thought to this. Pepe says, Baba Wegaland, 2027, sure, Wella, inshallah. Baba has all the arsenals with this time. My advice to candidates to Baba is to hand over to a northern Christian in capital letter of note in 2031, not 2027. The entitlement of some people over there is just disgusting coming from Pepe. However, we'll go back to 2025, and after this, we'll take a video reaction from 2023. First, in March 13, 2025, this is a headline, a story we're familiar with, where he says, the president now said that Buhari almost bankrupt Nigeria. My presidency quickly saved the country. That's Tinubu right there speaking. And you remember the campaigns that we were having, and we're like, APC to APC, why are you guys campaigning as if we're coming from opposition to another political party? But now let's go back to 2023. During campaigns, a video that surfaced that time, I thought it was a good time to bring it back. It was a presidential rally in Akwa Ibom State where Tinubu was saying that Buhari failed woefully, that he even scored up to F11, and he says F11 is when you fail all the courses. Let's see in 2023.
Buhari, he failed. He failed. fail all classes. You know what they call F level? Where you get failure in all the subjects that you take. F9, F8.
All right, there you went. I hope that nobody ever scores F11, like as bad as it could be. No score past F9, but we move on. A video captured by a content creator has surfaced online showing buses branded with renewed hope for Tinubu and billboards, of course, renewed hope for Tinubu at the said office of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Rivers State. The footage, which is now circulating on social media, has raised concerns and sparked reactions over the presence of politically branded vehicles within the premises of a supposed non-partisan electoral body. Well, this is not the truth. So I will leave you to listen to the audio of this video. And when we come back, after text reactions, I will show you something.
INEC, INEC, this is INEC, and you're seeing Renew Hope. Inside INEC, this is INEC, INEC in Rivers State, and you're seeing Renew Hope moto park inside INEC. INEC, oh, Renew Hope moto, ADC oh no day, PDP oh no day, only Tinubu boss, man, they park inside INEC. What is he telling you? They know!
All right, so let's take immediate reactions to that video without further research. Jessica says, INEC is actually spitting on our face, like we can't do anything to revolt against them. What is wrong with us as youth? And Jessica is crying so badly. Sorry, not Jessie. Ziki says, I'm actually tired of demanding answers online. They don't even rate us because they know all we will do is rant online. INEC chairman will never resign willingly. And if this is all Nigerians keep doing, they will impose Tinubu on us till 2031. Another thought also from this story would now be the video that is trending in reaction to this. Well, that is not actually trending. If we could see that video right now. This user, tall, dark, and handsome, he says, I don't for one. It was coming from the other side, but let's look at this video now. I'm told from what I see that the INEC office in Port Harcourt, they are sharing the same fence with this Renewed Hope office in Port Harcourt. So that video creator was not correct to say that all of these, the Renewed Hope ambassadors, billboards, and insignia everywhere, they are not indeed at the INEC office in Rivers State. However, the buildings are closed, and as the netizen said, they are sharing a fence. So yeah, I thought to highlight that, even though it's wrong, but I needed to highlight it to say that that's not the case because the video is viral right now. All right, away from that, we have a Federal Capital Territory High Court here in Abuja that has ordered the arrest of former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Sadiya Farouk, and the ministry's permanent secretary, Bashir Akali, over an alleged fraud case. The order was issued by Justice Jude after both defendants failed to appear in court for their arraignment. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is prosecuting the case, which involves alleged diversion of about $1.3 million and over 746 million naira. The court granted a bench warrant to compel their appearance, while the case has been adjourned to May 18, 2026 for arraignment. Well, she says, according to her lawyers, that she's sick and then she could not appear. And some thoughts before we call it a day and, of course, a week today. Lord Foster says, he's laughing. Welcome to Nigeria, where humanitarian affairs means minister's personal bank account. They are healthy enough to sign contracts for $1.3 million. But as soon as court starts, they develop Saudi Arabia sickness. It's the same old script. Steal the poor man's money, then hide behind a medical report. The judge did well to reject that audio affidavit. They should receive their healing inside a cell. Pure wickedness, Lord Foster says. But ADC is also reacting. ADC Vanguard, a verified account on X, says just in, former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Honorable Sadia Umaru Farouk, has been arrested just 2 days after her husband declared his intention to contest the Bauchi State governorship under the ADC coalition. Tinubu's EFCC is being vindictive. And yes, you can't guess and be sure that people have come for ADC Vanguard, like Christy Jane, for example. He says if she's found guilty, then she should go to jail. Being in ADC doesn't mean you are above the law. Jail thieves and sanitize the society, but doing so means the jailer must not be corrupt. Well, that's everything that time would allow us this morning. And just as I was live, someone sent me a message saying that one of the repentant Boko Haram chewing stick in his mouth is not ready to repent. He says, because why is he so nonchalant? If I listened to our reviewers earlier, those are some of their concerns. Well, everyone, thanks a bunch for being a part of Kakaaki Social today. I am Rena Obio, and we are AIT_online. We can always talk before we see on TV the next day. Bye.
Now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
My baba, they always say, for market, every day gets your own wahala. Sometimes people go on scam you. But Baba say, no be by gra. You must cool down, dey sharp. Because with OPay payment, your money go enter sharp, no story. But inside market, anything fit happen. One day, we no see phone again. My Baba remember OPay USSD lock, dash *955*131#. Baba press and lock account. From market woman to driver, from small boy to big man. Now OPay, they protect people like us. My Baba fit sell, press phone, collect POS, and still they teach me price. And when they don't tire am, go just tap OPay night guard. We no fear for this our hustle life. Now OPay be the people payment shield.
Kakaaki, unwrap joy, unleash taste.
Welcome back to Kakaaki, the African Voice on Africa Independent Television, and I hope you enjoyed Kakaaki Social there with Rena Obozege. Now we're moving on to our second interview for today, and it's on female participation in political office. But before we get the interview started on, let's hear this report from our colleague, and then we'll dive into it.
For decades, fight for equal representation has echoed the halls of governance. The quality of our democracy. Analysts argue when women are missing from the table, critical policies on maternal health, girl-child education, and economic empowerment often slip through cracks.
It's not enough to give women palliatives. It does not bring about true intervention when it comes to the core derivative of building, scaling, and sustaining what we scaled in the place of investing in women positionally.
If you put a woman somewhere, she will take care of the family, the society, her larger family, extended family, you know. The woman is always a mother.
Women should be given an opportunity because we have all it takes. We have the capacity, we have the intellectual, we have the competence to lead and to sit in policy-making tables.
In 2024 and 2025, a new glimmer of hope emerged. The Reserve Seats for Women Bill, sponsored by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu. The bill proposes creating 74 special legislative seats at the national level, one for a woman in every state, and the FCT to bypass the traditional barriers of the party system.
People need to understand, some people think that the Reserve Seats Bill is just about, quote-unquote, in our colloquial way of saying it, dashing women a seat in the National Assembly that they've not really earned because they have not, through the competitive positioning of election campaigning, got that pedigree of political position by election. But the truth of the matter is what it is bringing the woman to the seat of the National Assembly to discuss and to transmit bills that bring the intervention of women for women in the conversation, in the constitutional transmission. And this is time-bound. It's not like special seats for women forever. It has 16 years.
While the bill has gained endorsements from the First Lady and the Governors Forum, it still faces an uphill battle through constitutional amendment process.
Yes, women are getting more representation. It will never be enough until it is enough. So right now it's not enough, but I believe it will be enough as we continue to rise, we continue to fight, we continue to push, we continue to be visible.
And then women, we women ourselves, some of us are not comfortable enough to vote women or to put women in positions. We prefer working with the other gender. A woman, they'll say if you are working with a female boss, you have issues, envy, and all those things. So we need to, maybe we need to sensitize more on those issues.
The barriers remain steep, from the exorbitant cost of nomination fees to gender-based harassments and deep-seated cultural biases. Many aspiring female leaders find themselves squeezed out before they even reach the ballots.
For instance, sales of forms. They know that you will not afford it, so they will go and put it where you cannot get it. Number two is that some of them, because of, will go and fix their meetings in very odd hours and even use your spouses, you know, to deny us of the access or privileges to attend such political positions. So I believe that if those seats are reserved for women, we'll know that this is our spread, and women will come together and look inwards on who deserve it and, you know, appoint or elect the person for that representation.
The struggle for participation is no longer just a woman's issue. It is a national imperative. As advocates push for the final passage of the Reserve Seats Bill, the hope is that the next generation of Nigerian leaders will finally reflect the full diversity of its people. Anyole Avotu, AIT News, Abuja.
And joining us right here in the studio and virtually as well on the women's participation in political office, first off in the studio is Amalge Chukwudi, who is the chairperson, Trade Union Congress FCT Council. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Chooks.
Yeah, great to be here. And also Patience Key, also 2027 presidential candidate, People's Redemption Party, joining us from Maryland, USA. Good morning, Patience.
Good morning, Aliade. Thank you for having me.
All right, so now let's start off right here in the studio. Since the 1985 Beijing conference that, you know, kicked off this activism, you know, for women's participation in politics, how would you describe the lot of the Nigerian woman generally?
Okay, thank you very much. So I think that we've made a lot of progress in Nigeria with respect to women's participation in leadership, because that was actually the essence or the purpose of the Benjina called the Benjin movement. So the whole idea is for us to make that progress, to have that time where we do not need to be bothered or have that barrier of gender in the bid to represent our interests or the bid to represent the interests of the generality of Nigerians. So I think that we have made a lot of progress. Today, the data, the numbers speak for themselves. You could see that a lot has happened. We now have more women in leadership, although at the national level, it has not been so impressive. Okay. The pace is too slow compared to other institutions and other, cadres. At the national level and National Assembly specifically, and even in governance at the executive level, it's been a very slow pace. But when you look at other institutions, including for us in the labor movement and labor institutions, because our ILO, the International Labour Organization, responsible for labor issues at the United Nations, they are so particular about gender inclusion. So with those policies cascading down, the labor movement has keyed into those things and ensured that inclusivity is something we take so serious. But when it comes to governance, the pace is just too slow. Okay. It's just too slow, yeah.
All right, now let's move to patience now. How would you also describe gender activism in Nigeria, which started over 40 years ago or so?
Yeah, for something that started 40 years ago, I think it's going a very low space. And I don't think it's the fault of the men. I think it's the fault of so many of us women in leadership. We need to advocate more, and advocation can also be likened as education. And education is a continuum. It's not something you start and you stop tomorrow. We continue to do that until we see the kind of transformation or change that we want to see in our society. Advocation in terms of, this is your right, this is your duty. Because for me, I believe that leadership is not gender specific. To be in a position of leadership, to do your part in a society, in a community, it's not gender specific. I usually tell people, and God is a God of equilibrium. He's a God of balance. If 50% or 49% point or 50% of the population of Nigerians or the world, 50% are marginalized, then they can't be balanced. Things cannot go well in our society. So on our part, both for men and women, and especially those of us women in leadership, we need to, advocate for the girl child. We need to teach them that, you're not in a fight with any man. You're not in a fight with the opposite sex. It's your civic duty, it's your civic rights, to come into a space because you want your world to be transformed. You want your society to get that mark, that we are looking at. Yes, in Nigeria, it's on a very low space, and we need to do better. 40 years is a long time for us to still be talking about women in leadership and the low percentage, 4.4% in the Nigerian system. It's very, very low. That's the event held in Beijing, over 35 years ago. So many societies that attended that very conference, there's a lot of transformation in different spaces, even in few African countries. So for Nigeria, we must do better, and we will do better to continue to advocate. And when it comes to the issue of we don't have money for form, or let's support one another. I have been in politics for a few years now, and I see how much support that, the men counterpart get from their friends. So who do you want to support you? Let's support one another. It's a given. It's not something that we have to sit down and continue debating about. It's an action word. We need to just do it instead of just talking about it, because we already know the problem. We have so many women who are who can be said, oh, they are billionaires, they are millionaires, and all that. So let's just give that support and just not just about talking about it. That's what I would say, and that can help to propel what we need to do.
All right, now, talking about just doing it, let's come to Comrade Amarge now. You appear to have done pretty well for yourself, current chairperson of the Trade Union Congress FCT Council as well. And this is an environment where women complain, of not having opportunity to hold critical positions. So how are you able to, come about at that?
Okay, so for us, like I already told you, the union, because we are part of the signatories to the part of the tripartite, as a union that make up the ILO. So we take inclusivity, which is something that has part of the agreement we have. We take inclusivity very seriously. Personally, in my own journey, my affiliates. I'm a member of Pengasan, an affiliate of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. We are very vocal and forward about having women come on board. Only yesterday we had our Women Convention. It's an annual event where we talk to ourselves, where we give ourselves, where we bring people who come to give us those secrets on how to bring our best to the table and how to find ourselves on those tables. So the institution, first of all, plays a huge role in helping you move on. At the TUC level, we have almost as many women as men, because some of our affiliates have more population of women. Some other affiliates have more population of men. So that's one thing, the mindset thing we need to change. Because we feel that the union thing, from where we are coming from, we came from the union in the days of the military regime where it was all about force, all about shouting, all about banging the table. So we have failed to look at the fact that we have some affiliates, or the business of unionism has almost equal representation of men and women. So that mindset alone, from the beginning, I did not have that mindset. And also the fact that that passion that I need to bring something to the table. All of these things, if you have something that propels you, all of those things add in keeping you focused when you try to run races like the one I'm running. Now, I believe strongly that we are cheating ourselves when we deny women the opportunity to bring their maximum value. Because just like the men, we have a lot to bring to the table. And because we have a lot to bring to the table, when you don't give us that opportunity to bring that to the table, all of us suffer for it. So that is actually the ideology behind our president, who is the president of Pengasan, as well as the president of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Comrade Engineer Festus Osifo. He played a key role in saying, if you go to our Labour Center, which is TUC and Pengasan, you realize that the difference at the time when he came on board and now has been so huge. There's in fact, over 800% representation of women, increase in representation of women today, within that space of that period of time. So what that means is when you have an institution that really wants to get it right, and then you have a leader or people who believe strongly that when women bring value to the table, it's for the betterment of everybody. It propels you. That's my personal story. There are other things, other ways too, other women have been able to, climb the ladder. But for us, for me as a person in our labor movement, this is basically it. There have been policies that our National Executive Council have put in place at the TUC to bring me here. I used to be the secretary of the FCT. Because the National Executive Council placed policies that said women should be given first right of refusal as vice chairpersons or secretaries of the state councils. So what that does for you is, as a woman, it gives you the opportunity to come close to the table. You are not able to have an opportunity to train yourself, to get the experience that you need to move forward. So that policy, most especially, has been one that really caused that, this move to where I am today. And so the exposure has also helped to give me the capacity to be able to hold this office and do what is required of this office. So that is my story. And I think there are other women too, who, like me, who have benefited from, we have so many, like I said, we have had like over 800% increment of women in our National Executive Council from what it used to be one when our comrade president came in 2020 to the TUC. So you see, policies people having that strong conviction to take action are some of the things that help us women to make progress.
All right. Yeah. Also to Patience Care as well. You are the presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party in next year's general elections as well, which is something we don't see a whole lot happening in our society. How did that come about as well? Was there an environment in that party where you had policies as well to propel you to that, or you had to, push a bit further as well?
I'm not the candidate yet. We've not done the primaries, so we're all still on the aspiration part. I ran in 2023. I was, as an aspirant, and I'm still running again. I wasn't a candidate in 2023 as well, but I believe that this time around, I will get a ticket. And talking about my party, opening that door for women, of course, People's Redemption Party, PRP is a party that is, open to humanity. We believe in the value that the youth can bring on board. We believe in the value that women can bring on board. We believe in people generally, so. People's Redemption Party, it's a party that is open to anyone who wants to aspire, who have the vision, the wherewithal, to come on board. So there's no discrimination, with what I have seen. Joining the party in 2021, so yeah, I'm not the candidate yet, but I hope to be. I hope to be the candidate as soon as we have the primary election coming up in May 24th to be precise.
Okay. Now, still maintaining, still staying with you, there's a whole lot of clamor, for women to be involved more in politics, because right now that's the major focus in female representation in elective and appointive positions. Now, there are 3 out of 109 and 17 out of 360 House of Reps members. Would you say Nigerian women are doing well, or they can still do more in breaking through in these areas?
Well, I think that answers for itself. If you have only 3 or 4 women in the midst of over 100 men, of course, we are doing poorly, very poor. Like I said earlier, we need to push some more, because this is actually not a competition. People believe, this one is for a man, this one is for a woman. And I want women to understand that we were born leaders. We were born actionable. We were born as people that bring productivity in the system. Why do I classify it as that? For a man and a woman to decide to procreate, and somebody carries the baby. For me, that's a sign of that. That's leadership. And you carry that baby pregnancy for 9 months. That's power and that's leadership. When it's time to deliver, you're the one who goes, whether it's through C-section or natural delivery. That is, you're on the seat of leadership all the time. So when we come to a position, it's not because we want to outsmart anybody, it's because we want to be in the society that we love so much, the people that we love so much, to transform their lives, to make things better, to give better education, quality health care, food on our table, avert and eradicate security, looking at the problems in that space that we are governing, or that, we have the opportunity to preside over. So yes, it's very poor in our society for us to, over the years, have 2 to 3 to 4 women in a place where you have over 100 men. There's something called healthy competition. It is good that we push more, and I know in the end we go to, they don't have money to do this, or they don't have money to contest for that. Then let's support one another. It is very, very important. Let's support one another. Let's, advocate on how these things can change. Talking is good. Dialoguing is, the time we used to dialogue and do all those kind of things is when all those problems come. Then when we realize the problems, let's solve it, because solving it is the bigger aspect. Knowing and talking about this is one aspect of the solution. Then actionable actually actually doing it. Projecting whoever we think is better for that, for whatever position is another, that's what completes the solution. And I'm excited to hear from the chairperson of TUC that, in Pengassin, it's, there's a lot of changes, a lot of transformation so far. And that's how it starts also, whether it's in our civic societies or in civil society or in school politics, NANS, or whatever it is. In every society we are in, and we see women, coming up, projecting and all that. I was a chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora organization, 2017 to 2020. When I ran, we were 34 on board. Okay. And I was actually very new in NIDO. I was like 2 years old in an organization that has started over 14 years when 14 years before I joined. So I just thought as a public relation officer at the time that, having completing my 2 years, that I think NIDO needs a stronger hand. NIDO needs better strategy. NIDO needs better structure. And when I ran, I wasn't looking at, you have a lot of men here, or you have a lot of, because NIDO is full of creme de la creme, people who have made it in the society, people who are doing great things in the society, the best of the best doctors, lawyers, and I wasn't looking at that. I was just looking at what I can bring on table, the vision that I have. Because, and in NIDO, I also came to learn that, the leadership excellence and academic qualification are two different things. You can be so good in your field as a doctor, as a lawyer, as an accountant, but when it comes to serving people, when it comes to putting strategy to see what you can do between people and their resources, that's not your field. Okay. So there are two different things and all that. So that's what I brought on the table as a former chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora organization for the whole of the United States and all that. All right, and that's what led me to what I'm doing today. So all right, in a few seconds, I would want you to highlight, the women's bill, reserved seats bill that's currently in the National Assembly. Highlight it, what are the reasons why that bill hasn't, scaled through at the moment? And is that what we actually need right now to have more women in these spaces? Well, the bill that we have, I was one of those in 2021 when this bill was came up, and we just felt that a lot of everything, if I can, on the table was not presented for women. And I was one of those that was called to National Assembly because I was running for president at the time. Also came to advocate for women and why we should do things that we're doing. Highlighting these bills or talking about it, itemizing this, it's not really the problem. Okay. It's for us to look at the structure and see what we can do. This question I've been asked several times. We repeat it all the time. We itemize it all the time. But does that actually solve the problem? Solving the problem is looking at what is in there and bringing that support, bringing that that energy, bringing that modality that can change the face. Okay. Educating women. And as you're educating women, you're educating men and women and all that. In one of your, I think at adverts, someone said, we also need to, some people go to our husbands or those that are married, to make them not to go for meetings and not to be in some space at a specific time and all that. Leadership takes a lot. In the United, I own my own business, so there are just some kind of board meetings you do at night and all that. So it doesn't have to be in politics. Okay. Even in business, the World Bank event is it's ongoing now. If for the little time I have to invest in it, there are meetings that was up to 12 midnight. There are meetings that was up to 2 a.m. Okay. And all that. So, atomizing all these things, it's very beautiful, of which what it is. But what are the structures that we can put together, and that is educating the women, putting resources where resources are needed, and making sure things are happening. I know we are looking at 35%, but for me, I think there's nothing wrong with 50%. Because we have one man and one woman, and us coming together to make things happen. It's what will transform our society. And keep marginalizing 50% of our society will not give that balance and will not make us move forward.
All right, because of time, we'll have to just put a pause to the conversation. And this is a conversation that is obviously ongoing, even in the space of social media and, in different studios across the country. Thank you so much to Amaoge Chukwudi, Chairperson, Trade Union Congress, FCT Council, for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and also to Patience Key, 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party, and also hopeful of being the presidential candidate of the 2027 elections as well. Thank you for joining us live from Maryland, USA. Thank you so much, and have a fantastic day as well.
My pleasure. You too.
All right. So that's where we wrap things up on the conversation, and we're going to break to bring you entertainment. Do stay with us.
Welcome to Entertainment and Lifestyle on Kakaaki, the African Voice. I am Chidera Isubri. Nigeria has once again stamped its dominance on the global music scene as the 52nd American Music Awards nominations have been released, with 3 Nigerian stars securing spots in the highly competitive Afrobeats category. Afrobeats heavyweight Burna Boy, Wizkid, and Rema were all nominated for Best Afrobeat Artist, reaffirming Nigeria's strong influence in the genre that continues to gain massive international recognition. They will go head-to-head with South Africans Tyler and Ghanaian-American singer Molly, making the category one of the most closely watched at this year's awards. The AMAs, which remain one of the biggest fan-voted music awards in the United States, will see winners decided entirely by public voting across official platforms, adding extra pressure and excitement to the competition. This year's edition is scheduled to take place on May 25, 2026, at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, with Queen Latifah set to host the ceremony. With Afrobeats continuing its global rise, Nigeria's 3 nominations further highlights the country's growing cultural export power on the international stage. Nigerian rapper Odumodu Black is stirring fresh conversations in the music industry after claiming that some artists deliberately falsify their ages to secure record deals and endorsements. The outspoken Declan Rice hitmaker made this revelation during a recent interview where he suggested that age plays a significant role in how labels and brands invest in talent, often favoring young arts perceived to have longer commercial viability. According to him, this pressure has led some artists to adjust their real ages in order to appear more marketable and appealing to industry stakeholders. His comments have sparked mixed reactions online, with some fans agreeing that the entertainment industry places heavy emphasis on youth, while others questioned the extent of such practices. The rapper, known for his bold personality and unfiltered opinions, has never shied away from addressing controversial topics within the Nigerian music scene. As the debate continues, his claims have once again opened up conversations about transparency, image, and the realities of navigating success in the fast-paced world of Afrobeats. Nollywood actress Toyin Abraham has reacted to viral reports accusing her of being involved in the rearrest of an influencer over a past online dispute from 2024. Taking to her social media page, the actress firmly dismissed the allegations, describing them as false and misleading. Toyin Abraham clarified that she had no involvement in any arrest, stressing that she was on a movie set at the time the claims began circulating online. The actress also urged the public to disregard the report, as they do not reflect the true situation. As the situation unfolds, Toyin Abraham maintains her stance, emphasizing that she has no connection to the alleged incident. The The Director of Public Prosecutions of the Federation has directed the Nigeria Police Force to ensure that Nollywood actress Doris Ogala is served with court charges and appears before the Federal High Court in Lagos. According to reports, this directive was issued to the Assistant Inspector General of Police at Zone 2 headquarters in Onukam, Lagos, mandating that the actress be brought before the court in connection with the case. As of now, it remains unclear when the actress will appear in court, but authorities have been instructed to ensure compliance with the directive. The latest development adds to ongoing legal conversations within the entertainment industry as fans and observers await further updates on the case. A federal high court in Abuja has given approval for a fresh legal action seeking to compel the police to reopen the investigation into the death of popular singer Ilerioluwa Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad. This decision was made after an application was filed by a civil society group. The group also approached the court through its lawyer, asking for permission to seek an order that would force the police authorities to carry out a proper and thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the singer's death. The ruling was delivered by Justice James Omotosho, who granted the request and allowed the organization to proceed with its case. The suit was filed against the Inspector General of Police, the Nigeria Police Force, and the Commissioner of Police in Lagos State. Mohbad died in September 2023 in Lagos, and his death sparked public reactions both within Nigeria and abroad. In his ruling, the judge also allowed the group to request that the police carry out their duties as stated under the Police Act. This includes inviting and questioning individuals who were last seen with the singer, including his wife, close associates, and his father. The order also covers the possibility of arresting and prosecuting anyone found to be connected to his death. If evidence supports such action, the case has been adjourned until May 4th for further hearing. That's it in entertainment and lifestyle. I'm Chidera.
And that's it for entertainment, and we've come to the end of Kakaaki, the African Voice, for today and the week. And I hope you enjoyed the show from Monday to Friday as well. My name is Chukwuyenum Onwuka. And also, if there's a woman around you that's also interested in politics, give them that support that they need to be better as well in their society. Thank you so much for joining us. Catch you next week. Bye for now.